Hey everyone, I'm Jim Williams and welcome to this edition of the Politically Incorrect Podcast. We're going to talk about climate change and specifically with Nabilah Islam, who is the founder of the Progressive List and national organizer, director for the Matriarch organizations. They're committed to helping progressive candidates for election. She also is the daughter of working class immigrants from Bangladesh. Nabilah ran for the United States House of Representatives from Georgia's 7th District, and prior to that, she served as the financial director of the Florida Democratic Party and the Southern Regional Director at the Democratic National Committee in the 2018 Blue Wave cycle. It's a lot to put in, but Nabilah, let's talk about climate change.
Right now we have a president who is a climate denier,
Right.
and the climate crisis is the biggest existential threat that faces America today. It is a national security threat. As we can see today, the West Coast is in embers right now. We've seen massive flooding across the country. We're going through major droughts, and this administration is not acknowledging that climate change is real. And so therefore, instead of finding solutions to the climate crisis, they're denying that a problem even exists in the first place. And so it's just going to continue to be exacerbated. I really hope he doesn't get elected again. But if he does, I don't see him getting any more. He's not going to combat this climate crisis, and we need a change in leadership as soon as possible to undo a lot of the damage that this administration has already done.
Right. In here you talk about coal, and my grandfather was a coal miner in Western Pennsylvania. He rose up the ranks to eventually become the what in essence was the regional director of a couple of different mines in Western Pennsylvania. He died of iron lung. I'm sorry, a black lung, which you get from going down. So let me explain something to any of you out there, and I can't wait to hear from Nabilah's situation here and comment on it. There is no such thing as clean coal. That is the biggest bunch of bullshit that there is on the planet. It does not exist. Okay? And if we put half the money that we are putting into this stupid coal situation into green environmental work, we would be way better off. So,
absolutely.
Nabilah is up. I'm teeing you up there. Go for it.
No, I'm so sorry that happened to your family. And look, it is ridiculous that this trope that clean coal is something that's real. We need to transition away from a fossil fuel economy to a clean energy economy. There's no reason that we can't be leader in when it comes to renewable energy, whether it's the solar industry, the wind industry. We have an opportunity to capitalize on the fact that we can be a leader when it comes to producing clean energy and producing jobs that are not going to, hurt our health and the environment and hurt the public health. And so it is a moral obligation that we actually do make a just transition to a renewable energy economy and making sure that, folks that are working those jobs today in coal have good paying union jobs in a clean energy economy. I think that the Donald Trump and his administration just care about the bottom line of their fossil fuel companies, and they don't care about regular working people. And I think that in itself is a great tragedy, and which I'm going to keep bringing this up, which is why we need to get him out of office as soon as possible.
I'll pick him up and drive him. I don't care. I'll take him to the airport. The situation, though, let's for a moment go back to Western Pennsylvania, which is you can go to Birmingham, Alabama. You can go to you can go to Iowa City, Iowa. You can go to anywhere out west. You're going to see the same thing, whether it's coal or fracking of oil or whatever.
Mhm.
That at the end of the day, a few weeks ago, I had a wonderful conversation with Vinod Shikar, and Vinod is he's from Malaysia,
Mhm.
and he each year holds a massive and extremely successful um, group of people for a conference on the advantages of a clean economy and how capitalism benefits from green technology. And anyway, deep into the conversation between Benon and myself is he was flabbergasted. I mean, you think about this, Malaysia is out in Southeast Asia, and they're a third of the size of the United States of America. And Benon was opining to me that, you know, I don't understand it. I don't understand why in, our part of the world, meaning his part, which is Malaysia and Southeast Asia,
Mhm.
that they get it. I mean, he is a multi-billionaire by recycling rubber and other content and making it into green and, sub, cleaning up the water and all kinds of things that his global initiative does. And you're
Mhm.
sitting there going, we could do this. But as you say, lobbyists and other interest groups, because we, you know, seem to love to allow money to be, intertwined with our government, uh, you can't kill this stuff off. And in the 3 years, 3.5 years, I should say, that President Trump has been in office, he's rolled back 67 different environmental laws that can be
Mhm.
temporarily adjusted via simply by an executive order. And that kind of irresponsibility is, is totally off the wall. And let's talk a little bit about what you think needs to be done and how everybody can get involved.
I absolutely think that I agree with the man that you spoke with that is from Malaysia.
VNOD, yeah.
Vinod, there you go.
Yeah.
And I agree with Vinod. I mean, like other countries get it. Why doesn't the United States? This administration, Donald Trump has been the most anti-environmental president ever. I mean, he's gutted the EPA, and like you said, has rolled back regulation after regulation. Whether that was dismantling. He dismantled the Clean Power Act. He's rolled back rules limiting methane pollution from oil and gas infrastructure. He's loosened emissions when it comes to standards for cars and trucks, and also withdrawing from the Paris Agreement on climate change. It's been a real travesty to see how much undoing he has done of the progress the Obama administration has made. And in fact, I think he just saw anything with Obama's name on it and rolled it back without even giving it a real a due process of whether or not this was a policy that actually helped people. We need to have an aggressive climate policy when it comes to battling the climate crisis. Joe Biden came out with a plan where he talked about investing $2 trillion in combating the climate crisis and making sure that we get to net zero emissions by 2050. He understands the scale of this problem and understands that we're going to have to make major investments to actually address battling the climate crisis. We're going to have to move away from a fossil fuel economy to a clean energy economy, as I mentioned before, and really invest in renewable energies. And here in Georgia, where I live, we're top 10 and top 5 in potential in producing solar energy. Yet last year, only less than 2% of my state actually produced solar energy from solar panels, and 66% was from oil and gas. I mean, these are opportunities that we're just leaving at the table, that we have an opportunity to create jobs, thousands of jobs, and be able to create energy that is locally produced, that is produced in a responsible way, that isn't emitting carbon emissions into the air, that is depleting our ozone layer. I mean, these are things that we are seeing happening right in front of our eyes that we can stop and make better. We just need the courage to do so. And so I really like the plan that Joe Biden has put forth. And I'd love to see that enacted and come next year and put a stop to what Donald Trump has been doing in regards to just rolling back every regulation just to make it easier for, corporate fossil fuel companies to make money.
I spoke to Jeff Ford a couple of weeks ago. Jeff is one of the key people in the electric car initiative for Ford Motor Company. And Jeff said to me something that I thought was very appropriate to what you're talking about here. And that is that if the automobile industry in the United States were to push hard at developing electric cars, not only would there be less pollution, the cost of the cars are cheaper because there's less moving parts. In a electric engine, which is powered by battery, it's about the third of the size of a engine that is a combustible engine. And so obviously, if you have less moving parts, you can build a car cheaper. It goes further, and it's better for the climate. So the $100 million question to Jeff was, why the hell aren't you building it? And it's the fact that Ford and Chevy, General Motors, have been on the cutting edge from the get-go. So give them credit on that. But the fact that they haven't transitioned and made their own commitments to saying, you know what, we will not put out a car with a traditional engine in it after 2030 or 24. I mean, pick a date. I don't care what it is. Just pick it and have a plan to get there. And, which is why Elon Musk with Tesla is doing so well, even though the car company is a disaster. It's because, and people buy these things. I have two members of my family who bought Teslas. Who would have thought that there'd come a day when you would buy a car, not only sight unseen, it isn't even built yet. So, it just goes to prove, and to your point on the climate control, I'm sorry, the Paris Climate Accord, we were a signatory on that. We helped write it, and then we bail on it. That's crazy. I mean, China is still there. It's like, are you kidding me? How is, don't get me started, as the old saying goes. But now you're getting ready to run for Congress in Georgia's 7th district. Tell me about the 7th district of Georgia.
So I just ran for 15 months, and the 7th district of Georgia is composed of 85% of it is Gwinnett County, which is the fourth most diverse county in the entire country. It's a working class community, and many of us are working hourly jobs like my parents do. And it's folks here that are working, day to day, and even though they're working multiple jobs, even though their wages haven't increased in the past decade. Along with that, their utility costs have increased in proportion, and we have the highest proportion of utility costs in comparison to how much people's income in the Metro Atlanta area. And it's becoming more and more expensive to be a working American today. And one of the things that I talked about was during my campaign, supported, a Green New Deal, the principles of a Green New Deal, and talked
Right.
about how important it was that we move away from a fossil fuel economy to a renewable energy economy. And I kept going back to the fact that we have a real opportunity in this district to produce locally, produce jobs where we can create local energy when it came to solar. And they're doing it in all parts of the state. And we need a real investment here at home to help create higher, good-paying jobs. And so this was something that resonated with the community. And, folks totally understood that they needed a shift. A shift needed to happen immediately because they were feeling it in their pocketbook. Not only that, it's their health. And so I know a lot of people talk about how the climate crisis affects, frontline communities the hardest, our Black and Brown communities.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to, our air, having clean air or clean water. And it definitely has an effect on, in the Metro Atlanta area. In Atlanta, we have some of the worst air pollution, and it has an effect on people's health. And when it comes to asthma, when it comes to, making sure that people can breathe air and not get sick from it, folks are really are suffering around this area. And so, these were some of the issues that were of concern to my community, that resonated with it. And today, 2/3 of America agrees that we need to do something about climate change. And this has become a real issue today that people agree that we need to become more aggressive on.
Nabilah, I don't know if you've ever been out to Southern California, but if you take the drive from Los Angeles to Palm Springs out in the desert, one of the most amazing things you will see is throughout that entire time, as you make the trip out from Palm Springs to LA to Palm Springs, which is a little over 120 miles or so, depending upon where you started in Los Angeles. But you will see massive, massive wind farms.
Mm-hmm.
And these wind turbines have been there for years. I mean, we're not talking about 4 years ago or 10 years ago. We're talking 20, 25, 30 years ago. It's those windmills generate almost 15% of the electricity that powers the cities of Los Angeles and San Diego. And yet, we talk about clean energy, and you think of solar, and of course, solar makes sense. But we don't talk enough about wind, which is easier to build, less, it doesn't take a lot to maintain it, and you can build it anywhere. I don't seem to get how people can't connect the dots.
I've actually been to Southern California, and yes, I know what wind farms or wind turbines that you were speaking of, and I think it totally makes sense that we use we take the strengths that we have across our environment and use it to benefit our community and produce clean energy that isn't harmful. I think here's the thing. It is a no-brainer to the American people. We've caught up with it. It's just that our administration, our president, is just denying the science. When he was in California, to go visit the raging wildfires.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he mentioned he was talking to I believe is the National Agency Secretary, and he was talking about whether, look, I don't think vegetation management is it. And Donald Trump was like, oh, well, something to the effect of it'll start getting cooler. And he pushed back and said that he wished the science would agree with the president. And then
Right.
Donald Trump countered, I don't think science knows. This is a man that believes he is above science because he apparently has a very good brain. And I mean, this is literally him and his administration are leading the charge when it comes to, the possibilities that this country can take. And they're not meeting the moment. They are just doubling down on the dirty energy that this country has been creating instead of looking at the possibilities such as wind and solar. And so it's just something that we're definitely going to need a new president. That's the only answer, is we're going to have to get a president, because if he gets another 4 years, it's just going to get worse.
Special thanks to our guest, Nabilah Islam, and all the information on her fine work on climate change and other major issues can be found in the show box below. We'll be right back with some final thoughts right after this from the 2021 Ford Bronco.
There's still some wild out there. Those grayed out sections on maps that map makers haven't gotten to yet. Places where cell service and calendar reminders don't exist. But you have to get out there and look for it. And to look for it, you need something that's just as wild as the wild. You need something that can look adventure in the eye and give it a firm handshake. Something built with the toughness of an F-Series and the spirit of a Mustang. Something that's not happy until it takes you through whatever creek or snow or mud or mountain trail or dune or logging road or landmark with death in its name. You need a Bronco. Built as wild as what you're looking for.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're not one of the over 35,000 people who've taken the time to subscribe to our podcast, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, it is free. That's right. You can find us at the Apple Podcast Store, the Google Play Store, as well as Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, and, of course, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and now we're very proud to say that we are part of the Amazon Music and Podcast family. So there's many places to check us out. If for some reason you can't find us, simply you have an assistant device like Alexa or Google or Siri, just simply ask, hey, Alexa, please play the latest edition of the Politically Incorrect Podcast with Jim Williams, and they will do it for you. All right, special thanks again to our guest, of course, was Nabilah Islam. She is doing a very good job of making people aware of all the issues on climate change, folks. It is not a joke. It is not a hoax. It is something you need to take seriously, something we all need to take seriously. Remember that we're only about a month out, a little over a month from Election Day. Be sure to, if you're going to vote via mail, that you read everything in detail, make certain that everything is done properly so that your vote will count. Okay? All right, until next time, I'm Jim Williams for the entire team here at the Politically Incorrect Podcast, saying have a wonderful and safe week.